All right, here we go. Thank you all for being here. We have a wonderful speaker here today with us, Rick Austin. I'm a little prejudiced on this one. I've known this gentleman since we met each other as high school All-Americans in football. So we know each other from way, way back, before the goatee connected. Mine's still trying to. But with that, I really want to. Rick has a real wonderful career journey. So as some of the things that we'll talk about, and we're gonna, start from the minimum and go to, what does logistics look like for him and where he works, and more importantly, kind of a little bit of the things that, some of you, this isn't your first time coming here. There's always the tidbits that are personal from people that get to come and speak to us about, their occupational journey and where they've been, how they've started, and where they're going. So with all that, I'll just lead into Rick. And Rick, tell us a little bit about your career journey from how you started to where you're at today.
Yeah, so I started in 1998, having gotten cut from the San Diego Chargers the second time and experiencing all that heartbreak and really not having completed my degree when I could have gotten it done for free. And so I found myself hanging out with millionaires during the preseason, and then the next week applying at UPS as a loader unloader for $8.50 an hour. So I did that, and I worked two other jobs to keep my family afloat. And in the course of working at UPS, I said, hey, this moving boxes stuff from point A to point B is it kind of is for me, but maybe not at the capacity of actually moving the boxes, but more so being a leader. So within 3 months of working at UPS, I started out as a unload supervisor. Having had no degree, they selected me for whatever reason, and my career just kind of left from there. I spent 3 years at UPS, left there for more responsibility, more pay, to go to YRC, which is a less than full load carrier, LTL carrier. Left there to go to Kohl's, work at Kohl's distribution warehouse. And at Kohl's, I was able to basically do every supervisory job within the center, within the fulfillment center, and promoted there to be a shift manager, and then left Kohl's to go to Mervyn's, which for anybody that remembers Mervyn's, that was kind of a mistake. But I jumped off that ship before Mervyn's was completely done, and went to Petco, and I stayed at Petco for 4 years and did some cool things, developed receiving processes and all of that at Petco. And then was really begging for a challenge after 4 years of being there and not seeing an ability to grow and move. I decided to go with this company in 2012 that seemed to be on the move. They recruited me, and I haven't looked back since. Literally, this will be my ninth, in about a week or so, it'll be my 9th year at Amazon. I came to Amazon with total 13 years experience in distribution management, and started at basically the bottom of their management structure, as an area manager. Came in and was really responsible for about 200 people in a very busy building. The building that I worked in Indiana housed about 6,000 people during peak. And we literally had to have police officers outside in order to direct traffic. It was so many people. So I did that, and ever since probably have launched about 5 different buildings for Amazon, in many different places: Philadelphia, Kenosha, Wisconsin, Singapore. Launched a building in Singapore in 2018. a building in Reno, a building in Texas. So I've either been going to situations and fixing broken situations or launching new buildings, all up until the point where I came to be the site leader here at in Las Vegas, where I have a 850,000 square foot building. We receive, stow, pick, pack, and ship customer orders for bigger items. My standing head count's about 1,000, and I have about 40 managers that work here. So in the greater Las Vegas node, there's about 10 other buildings in this node, and have very good relationships with all the other managers there. So that's kind of a bit of what I do now, and kind of how I got here.
Rick, can you give me a little bit more like understanding? What is it like to jump off a site in like Singapore? Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Tell me about that.
No, that's good. The Singapore experience was really different because at that point I had done already 4 different launches for Amazon. But this one was different in the fact that I was going to a situation. First of all, we did not have fulfillment center operations at all in Singapore, and we had about 2 to 3 other competitors there already. So we had to make a mark with a team that had never been in fulfillment at all. So we had to completely train that team from scratch. And then we had like different cultural differences. So we found out real quickly that because we make plans for buildings based on shifts, based on the how can I say, the span of area that any one building can cover. And the better that building is at turning freight, the bigger their span becomes. And obviously, if you're launching in a brand new country, you want your span to be large, because if any customers want to order stuff, you want to be able to fulfill that. So the problem with this particular building in Singapore was that culturally, the folks are used to working day shifts and not so much night shifts. So we had one big issue right off the bat, was that we could only staff about 40% of what we needed on the night shift. So we had to make a plan that shifted everything to day shift, most of the work to day shift volume, and then only 40% at night for the first 3 months that we opened there, in order to meet the need for the area. The other thing was that like how they do warehousing was completely different in Singapore than anything I had ever seen. I'm used to Amazon building big standalone buildings by themselves. You guys have probably seen them. But this particular building, we had to build, and we're housed in one building with other businesses. And it was just something that was completely different than anything I had ever done. And I go into particulars on that too, but so culturally there was issues, logistically there were issues that we had to overcome that we weren't used to seeing out of Amazon. But the cool thing about the company, and the thing that I like, is that we don't ever really focus on our competitors. And that's one thing that you'll never hear us talk about like Walmart or whoever else we're competing against, because to us, like the biggest, like the focal point for us is the customer, and trying to anticipate what they want and need. And a lot of times we're trying to give customers stuff they don't even know they really want yet.
So when we're talking about logistics, how do you like manage all these moving pieces, and what are the things that you use to connect all those pieces, or to integrate it, or for them to be somebody orders something in Singapore somewhere and then it's going to end up at their house. So can you?
So I'll tell you right now, like we have systems that are a lot smarter than I am. But how it begins is obviously, hopefully you guys have gone on the site and ordered stuff before. So whenever it is that you're looking at a customer gets a promise for a delivery time based on how, again, where they're at. There's an algorithm that goes into all of this, where they're at, how far behind or ahead the buildings are on orders for the region that they're ordering from. um, how much we're willing, so we set thresholds for how much we're willing to pay extra to have something like, say, for instance, if you're in the Arizona region, and you want a midget wrestler refrigerator magnet, and that magnet, it's not located in any building in your region. However, maybe it's in New Jersey or something. So we do, the algorithms have thresholds that say we're willing to pay up to $4, $5, $6, $10 more in shipping in order to get this to this customer, or we have to extend out the time that we're promising the customer their item. So that's kind of like how it works, and how we provide checks and balances and make sure customers are pleased, because we have systems that set that up from the beginning. And then, for as far as me managing like all the details to that, the orders kind of drop down in the system. And again, the algorithms govern what order goes out of what building. At this point, we have well over 1,500, 2,000 buildings in North America. So there's a lot to choose from. So once the algorithm decides what building it goes to, it's very simple from that point. Our pickers get orders that drop directly into their devices and tell them to go pick it. And then it goes to a packer and they pack it. And then it goes through what we call a slam machine, which decides what ship method to use within split seconds. And it slams the package with your label, and then it's off to the races to the ship dock where we ship it. I don't know if that answers your question, Mike.
No, I mean, it did. It gave me a feel. What Drew got to introduce before we started recording. Drew is my partner in crime, and Alice, who's not with us right now, but she's a great intern with us. This is part of the green sustainable trades, as we talked about before. And what are some of the things that are being incorporated? Because logistically, y'all everywhere. So what are the type of things you guys as a company are trying to do, as part of sustainability and, in the green stuff, right?
No, that's good. We have an actual corporate team called the Amazon Sustainability Team, which is slow launching, but is launching within all of our markets. Right now, I can tell you, we're looking into electric vans. So the gray vans that you see in your neighborhoods, we're looking into switching those over to all electric powered vans to try to reduce our, carbon footprint on things. With all of these humongous buildings that we have, there is a huge initiative to put solar on top of all of them. And just imagining, like, for our AR sortable buildings, right? AR sortable buildings, those are buildings that have robots within them. By and large, they're probably around the 850 to 10 to a million square foot, in size. For all of those, like, I think there's like 300 of them now. For all 300 of those to have solar on top of them, what could that mean to our communities? What could that mean in giving power back to our, our local principalities and all of that, or municipalities? So that is another thing we're looking at. The sustainability project also looks specifically at the inside of the building and what things we could do on the inside. For example, in Germany, we had a team that completely decided we ain't buying no more cups. Everybody gets a cup and it belongs to you. And like, that's it. And we're not buying any more paper cups. And we're buying dishwashing liquid, and that's what it's just going to be. And they've actually done it, and it's cut down on well over 20 to $30,000 a year in cups and reduce their carbon footprint. So we believe in the things great and small, I guess is the message. The great things being like changing over our vans to electric and putting solar on top of our buildings, which is a huge investment. But even the small things add up, like not having cups anymore, or not ordering paper goods in the bathroom and allowing for blowers in the bathrooms to dry our hands with and things like that.
Okay, I know there another angle I wanted you to get at, because as we're looking to provide information for people who, you had a very colorful career, multiple organizations, different times. I'm so sad about Mervin's, all these different things. But I know there is a part of your job, and we always are trying to find ways for people to understand, what does it take for someone to see a career maybe in Amazon, and how would they move up the steps? And I remember you were a recruiter for a minute too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I was.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that process, and what are the things and people that Amazon is looking for to join their company, or some of those attributes.
I'm actually proud to say that when I started in 2012, it used to be one thing that we were looking for from a manager standpoint, from an associate standpoint. And now we've grown to a place where we need all kinds, literally all kinds of workers and people with all kinds of skills. So if we want to talk about, AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, which is the platform that powers Netflix and, basically services the cloud for the FBI. We need all kinds, we need way more software development engineers than we could even shake a stick at. And they're being paid very competitive salaries to do so. So that's one avenue. We have this other very entrepreneurial avenue as we look at our last mile delivery services, right? So this is the vans that are that come into your communities and deliver packages. Those vans are technically owned by DSPs, delivery service partners. Those delivery service partners are people that own their own companies, but kind of lease the vans, and they have their own drivers. So basically, you're working alongside Amazon in that capacity as a delivery service partner owner, or you can be a driver and work for the delivery service partners. We also have, obviously the warehouse workers and the big fulfillment centers that we have all over the country, and that's always an entry point. If a person has some managerial skill and managerial background and a degree, they're definitely up for being able to be an entry-level manager or come in, depending on their level of skill and experience, they can come in as a manager, shift manager or mid-level manager at Amazon. So there's so many different things and different ways to get into the company. Not to mention all of the work at home positions that we're looking at these days. We need accommodation specialists, people that understand law in relation to leaves of absence and things of that nature, that we bring on board. They work remotely, but yet they're working for the company. So we're sitting at about 1.2 million workers, associates worldwide at this point. So and that's just continuing to grow. We're continuing to look at different ways we can help to service the community. I do know of Amazon Health Services that is looking to come on board within the next 1 to 2 years, that will partner with the service that we have called PillPack. So basically, Amazon will be offering its own healthcare. And I know they're gonna start with the associates and like test it out on the associates and see how it works and kind of knock out all the kinks. But that we imagine also that will be partnered with PillPack, which is something that's already going where customers can order and get their prescriptions packed into little packets that have all the prescriptions that they would need for that one specific day instead of going bottle to bottle to bottle. So just some interesting things and different ways that folks can join and different things that they can do. It's getting more and more vast.
Wow, that's a that's a lot of information.
Sorry, man.
As I actually have more questions, but this is the fun part. We will have people who are here ask some questions. Feel free to raise your hand or take yourself off mute and ask Rick some questions. So I think
I ask one right now?
Oh yeah, go for it, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I'm still trying to get the picture. I've heard of fulfillment centers where everything is there and you pick and pack it, and that's how it works. But now I'm picturing Amazon. These 300 buildings are mega department stores without the glitz and glamour that someone is paid to find all these items and pack it and ship it. So you guys also have to do the forecasting of how many of these things you're going to sell in a year, right?
Yes.
So you're buying stuff ahead of time, almost predicting a market for this stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, we got about 15 years of information, but at the end of the day, we always say that we're at the mercy of the click, right? We have sales and operations planning teams that do forecasts for us. We accept, generally speaking, about 10% variance to that forecast, which we deem as kind of regular. It's been as much this year for me as 20% variance, which puts us in a bind. And it's been as little as 0.5% off. So all they do is really just project based on previous year. They project based on heavy seasons, and they try to predict kind of where we're going to be and where we're going to land. The tougher part is taking that entire volume for a region, breaking it down into types, and then even beyond types, breaking that down by building and being less than 10% off of that number. So it's pretty amazing what those guys do, even though we give them a hard time. To speak to what you were talking about as far as the big buildings, there's quite a few different ways, and we have many building types, probably about 15 different building types. And I have led in about 10 to 12 of them. So I have like specific knowledge on that, but we have everything from an example, make on demand. So some people still like the feel of a real book. They don't like virtual books. So we have make on demand where there's about 25 million titles in there where if you order off of Amazon, they will make your book fresh. Like there's a printing press and they make your book, cut your book and send your book out to you. So there's that's one way that we fulfill. Then we have my building, which is, all big items, and it's a non-sort. So we have bigger bins and we have, a lot of powered industrial trucks that move here. And then we have AR sortables, which are Amazon robotic sortables. All this stuff is YouTubeable, by the way. And you can see where the best I could describe it is those Roombas, those self-guided vacuums. So think of that 10 times bigger, but it goes up under a library bookshelf and picks it up and brings you the picks. So our pickers and our stowers, those library books have all kinds of library shelves have all kinds of items in them. And our pickers and our stowers stand in one place and they're either putting stuff in or taking stuff out, and the shelves are coming to them. So there's many different ways that we have that gets this done and gets you your Mexican wrestler refrigerator magnet.
Nice, crazy.
No problem.
Dom, go for it.
How you doing? Thank you for being here.
Hey, Don.
Hey, so listen, I had some questions. This would be relating to sustainability and last mile transport, things like that, and bringing work. I've studied with Stuart over in the photovoltaics department over at Santa Monica College. I cross over Drew a lot in the community, thinking about how to, like, what are the actual steps and things to bring work to the area and sustainability wise, like, because you said, you mentioned the was it the DPS, the delivery service partners for last mile stuff. And I know there's the, Amazon's made the big Rivian investments in the electric, delivery vans. So there's a big play into that. Is that separate? I mean, will those vans be like Amazon's? And then who are these, the local partners? How does that work?
Yeah. So as you sign up as a DSP. I know that Amazon as a company, and this is all public knowledge, they want to see about 30 grand liquid in any account for you to become a DSP. And then from there, there's a choice whether, if you had enough capital to buy vans, or whether you rent them through another company. And Amazon will help out with the branding of the vans to get them looking all the same. Now, as far as where we are from, from the Rivian standpoint and transitioning over to all electric, that part I don't exactly know. To be honest with you, I know that we're relatively early in the infancy stages of getting that transitioned. But I do know that, once we find that solution, it'll be something that we push out to all of our DSP members and partners. The issue with that is, and where it gets a little tricky is because technically they run their own company. So it's almost kind of like a McDonald's model in a sense where you own the McDonald's, but McDonald's does have some say in how you run your McDonald's, right? You can't put up, golden flags when it's supposed to be golden arches.
Yeah.
Once we figure out that sustainability piece completely and have solvable, or solutions for all electric fleets, I'm sure we'll see that start to roll out.
I mean, for us over here in the West Side, Santa Monica, well, all through the LA County area, I mean, it's really bringing jobs in and making sure it's sustainable. Like, we don't want to be bringing in more, fossil fuel vehicles. I mean, and if there's opportunities there, and that's really the way to go.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay. So, well, thanks for that info. How can I follow up with that? Or is there, can we get your email or somebody's contact info to find out more?
Let me take that as an action item, and I will get back to Mike on that one if he can filter back to you. Specific to, was your question specific to how we're transitioning to electric, or was it specific to just becoming a DSP partner?
Well, more specifically is, Stuart, was running the program here at Santa Monica College. I'm working there now. There's a big interest in just getting jobs for people here, especially that kind of job is a good job for students, right? Because it's a kind of part-time thing, or just people that are, that need work in the area. So that seems like a good thing. And to make sure it's sustainable, that's good. So, I'm just asking too, because there's the DPS, route, and then, then there's other delivery stuff, but really keeping it in a sustainable, framework.
Okay. I'll get that back to Mike.
Thank you.
Problem. Anyone else have any questions for Rick before I jump back in? True.
Well, just along the same topic of the zero emission vans, Santa Monica has launched a zero emission delivery zone. So we've prioritized certain curb spaces for all electric delivery vans. And I don't think Amazon is one of the delivery partners at the moment, but just something to keep on your radar. that Santa Monica is a zero emission delivery zone, and our partners have received a really major federal grant to expand it to other cities. So just want to have that on your radar.
Got it.
So you get priority, loading parking if you're driving an electric van.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Drew.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions for Rick?
I guess I would like to learn a little bit more about what an average day in the life is of yours. Like when you go into your building, like what do you do day to day? And you're pretty far up, so maybe you could also talk about maybe, a step below, like a manager below you, what their day to day is like.
Absolutely. I've had many of those days myself. So I could definitely speak to them. So that was a good question, Drew. We generally our managers that are like, I call them frontline managers. So they're managing the hourly associates. We try to keep a general head count to get started. Their head count ratio is no more than, in my org anyway, no more than 65 per. So each manager will have no more than 65 hourly associates that are reporting into them. So that's first. And as you go to different organizations within Amazon, that changes. So for my org, it's 65. So a manager, generally speaking, will work what we call 4-10 schedule. So they'll have 4 days on, 3 days off. You'll either work Sunday through Wednesday or Wednesday through Saturday. So there's always an overlap day in there. And that is day and night shifts because we are a 24/7 operation. We only recognize 2 holidays where we shut the building, three holidays where we shut the building completely down. We have 6 recognized paid holidays, but 3 of those 6 we do not shut the building down for. We just pay people as they come in double time or time and a half as they work. So with that, a manager will come in to their shift. They're 10-hour shifts. A manager will come in, generally speaking, about 45 minutes before. And if they're good, they stay between 30 or 45 minutes after everybody leaves. So the 45 minutes before, a manager will come in and walk his or her area to just see how the handoff went from the last shift, take any notes for any defects that are above the threshold, because there's thresholds for everything in all of our areas. And then that's about 15 minutes of that 45. 30 minutes before the shift starts, there is a pre-shift sync that the frontline manager has with their shift manager. So it'll be usually about 4 to 5 frontline managers that have different departments that are sitting there talking to their shift manager. The shift manager uses that time to go over, hey, this is the volume goal we're trying to hit today. And by department, this is the goal that you each should be hitting. Confirm or deny, sir or ma'am. Confirm or deny, sir or ma'am. Confirm or deny, sir or ma'am, based on what you saw in that 15-minute walk. And one of them might say, hey, I'll need some more help in the first quarter because there isn't enough WIP generated for my area, or there's a mess in my area, so I need to do this. And that's the time that they will plan to level set that and make that right so that the ship can run smoothly later on. Having said that, the associates come in, we do a starter shift in which we have what we call a spacer, a safety tip, quality tip, standard work tip, and success stories that we go over with the associates and talk about any major announcements, HR or otherwise, that are going on. Then we break that and start the shift. Associates do stretches. We break that and then we start the shift off. And then from there, every quarter of the shift, managers will meet together and do what we call a sync meeting. Those meetings are to either like if we're doing great, figure out how to keep lightning in the bottle and keep it going. Or if we're struggling in any area, we allot more resources to that area and do course corrections and change. So we do that every quarter of the shift. End of shift hits, our folks go home, and we are left to do the end of shift wrap up, which is an email that essentially goes out and talks about how the shift performance went, things that went really well, things that didn't go well, and plans to make them better moving forward. That's sent out, and then it's time to go home. So generally speaking, it's about an 11.5-hour day for our managers, 4 days a week, and it's pretty much gone. It's over before you know it with 4 days.
Yeah, it sounds very quick paced. How reliant are you on technology? Like I've seen some videos of Amazon warehouses, and it seems like everyone has some sort of smartphone. Or is that a skill that y'all teach associates as to how to use that technology, or do you expect some skills going into it?
Yeah, so we're big on training. We do have this huge repository called KNet that houses training for literally everything we do, and some things that maybe we might not do on a daily basis. Before any associate can hit the floor, they first have to go through safety school. Safety school teaches them like all of the pitfalls in that particular warehouse, and our safety schools are warehouse specific to the 15 or so different businesses that we talked about, because every business is going to have different challenges. I have way more, I just mentioned a while ago, I have way more powered industrial trucks in my building than in any others. And honestly, a powered industrial truck runs a risk of that could be life and death there. So we spend a lot of time training folks to go up and elevate themselves in those trucks properly, to work properly within them, to make sure that we're good to go there. So as far as the technology is concerned, we're always looking at more technological advances to try to enhance the business. And I know that oftentimes when we come up with new technology, it is always said like, oh, you guys are trying to replace us, like we're, this is the beginning of what was that, Starnet or whatever that was in Terminator. But it could be further from the truth, because honestly, we still need human beings to man our sites and do the actual work. And as much as we talk about trying to be Earth's most customer-centric company, we've recently added on a new leadership principle where we want to strive to be the Earth's best employer. And so part of that is coming up with technology that makes our jobs easier. I will tell you that working at this company, you will learn something new every day. And I still do. 9 years in, I still do. There's a rabbit hole of information for every single building type that we have out there. We're very data driven, and there's just so much data at your fingertips. So from that perspective, we innovate most. We're always coming up with new websites that guide and govern what we do, new ways to track information. So that is always coming out. And I literally, if I share screen right now, I have 20 different tabs up right now. So the technological piece, I think, is mostly driven off of the data we have and trying to make it digestible for everybody.
I was really interested when you said during like the start of each shift, did like a safety tip, a work tip, and you mentioned success story, an employee success story. Can you give us an example of a type of success story?
Yeah, we have all kinds of success stories. I'll drop one on you for my building. Up in the last week, we had one safety incident in the entire week. So just to give you an idea Each shift, we're looking at about 800 hours worth of people, no, 1,200 hours worth of people on each shift. So that's 2,400 hours a day times 7 days a week. It adds up, and we only had one safety incident for the whole entire week, which is it's pretty impressive to work that much and have only one incident. Another example of a cool and different success story that we had recently was just last week. We wanted to address, in my building especially, we want to address the whole worker. So we said, like, what is something that people don't often think about in, off the beaten path stuff. So we did an education fair last week where we invited 10 different types of colleges that are here locally to come in and do tables. We set up plexiglass barrier in between them, socially distanced and all of that. And we invited them to come in and just talk to our associates about, what they offer and what they could do. And some associates may have wanted, to go to college, but on the day-to-day, when you're trying to feed your family and you're trying to just manage your day-to-day life, there are some people, sometimes you don't think about that future. You don't think about what's next and what's out there. So I wanted to bring that to our associates and give them an opportunity to think about that and talk to people that could help them in that vein. So we had truck driving schools, we had nursing schools out here, we had trade schools, we had UNLV out here, UNLV grad school. So I think a lot of it was addressed. Everybody was happy. We had about a couple hundred people walk up and give their email addresses to get more information. So to me, it was a win. But we're very data driven, and because of that, it can cause us to be highly scrutinizing to the business. So it's real important, we found, that we address and have success stories and talk about what we're doing well.
Yeah, I'd imagine that would be really good for employee morale. I mean, dealing with 65 people or something as a manager, that sounds pretty overwhelming. And you got to get creative about, keeping morale up and people thinking about future next steps and success and growth within Amazon or just growth in their personal life. So I think it's really cool that you can come up with ideas like that to.
It's the team, man. It's the team. Take the team.
It's the team. Anyone else have questions for Rick or come on before I ask a couple more? Anyone? All right, Rick, check. There's always a personal piece we kind of want to be able to relay to people when they see this or check it out on our YouTube channel. Is what did you learn about yourself during this career journey that sustained you to keep moving forward, but more importantly, you're still learning stuff every day. So tell me a little bit of your old school route, a little bit of your grit that's brought you up to here now.
Yeah, no, I think Mike, the last thing I said is probably the truest thing I said, in that it takes a team. As you start out as a young manager and you're doing everything and people are coming to you and this, that, and the third, and you start to take on a persona that says, like, I can handle this. And what's interesting is that as I've continued to grow in leadership and grow in positions, that how much I depend on other teams and my support teams to help me be successful. And kind of breaking down that wall and almost the swagger that you need as a front level manager to be successful. It changes as you become a bigger leader. and your ability to go and get insight from your team, your ability to be humble enough to say, look, man, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is what we need as a building, or this is what we need as an organization, and really diagnose that and put your hand up and say, like, something's wrong here, is probably what I've learned the most. Truth. And no matter how brutal it is, I tell my team all the time, like, we'll never run from our shortfalls. We'll never run from them. I want to broadcast them. I want to be the one that says, this is where we're messing up, right? So that I want to build an environment where people are not afraid to fail, and where we look at problems like we should look at problems. Aside from any feelings, aside from any emotion, and we should just really attack what is the problem and what is the solution that we're going to gauge. We don't want to assign blame, and it takes a team mentality, and a leader that's focused on team mentality in order to do that. So that, to me personally, that's the biggest thing that I learned, is that, yeah, I'm moving up in status, but I actually need teams more now. I need people, I need networking, I need to make inroads into my community, because now, right, wrong, or indifferent, there's probably millions of people in Las Vegas, but I have impact on 1,100 of them. And so now it's on me to also make inroads into the community for my business, and make sure that we're received as a positive force in the community, and not something that's going to degrade the community or increase our carbon footprint down, and these types of things.
Well, how in the position now, how's your football background impacted this team philosophy right here?
I could tell you, man, the biggest thing football has ever taught me is that, Mike, I remember, conditioning and being on that line, and like, I am dead beat tired. Like, I am, everything in my mind, everything in my body is saying, I can't do no more than this. But then I'm on the line, and they say, put your hand in the dirt, and my hand's in the dirt, and they blow the whistle, and I run another one. And it's like, to me, that's the biggest thing that football has taught me, is that our limits are not really our limits. And that we can always go a little bit further, than what we think we can. And so with that, and that philosophy that I've carried over to business, and how I have kind of tweaked it in business, is that I want to make sure we're putting a challenge in front of our leaders, because sometimes we walk into a situation, and because we've evaluated a leader already, we think that they're this or that, or we think they're great, or we think they're horrible. We tend to give them more or less challenge as a result. And that one thing that football taught me is that we should always challenge people to do more and do better, because sometimes you never know when somebody's going to step up to the plate and prove to themselves that they could be more than what they are. And once they do that, and once they have confidence, it's like sky's the limit from there. So as I guess I always think in terms of leadership, and our leadership lid, our ability to lead at bigger spaces, and challenge has been a big part of that for me, and it's helped me propel.
That's right. That's right. I guess I always like to have the speakers at the end kind of put their own little invitation to, you know, this career, like, you know, putting the bow on the present, or being able to, you know, just say that, you know, why this career is viable and why it's meaningful. So
Yeah, no, I think as you look at Amazon and e-commerce as a whole, and we talk about sustainability, right? And we think about how people buy and how that has progressed over the lens of time. It used to be everybody going out to the stores and being very tactile and wanting to touch what they're buying and feel what they're buying. And to where today you can pick up your cell phone, project your living room, and see a piece of furniture that you're thinking about buying online in your actual living room as it would sit there. So what has that done and what impacts does that have? Well, we want to change our vans over to electric vans, but even in their current state, we are better from a carbon footprint standpoint having these vans delivered to all these households rather than having all those households come to the stores. And so my point to you is, as loose as it is that I think that this is the future. The convenience industry, which is basically what it is, e-commerce is convenience, is the future, is going to continue to be the future. And the reason I would even plug for my company, because I actually love working at Amazon, is the focus that I mentioned a while ago. And we're always going back. We have a saying, I'm sorry, I'm segmenting, but we have a saying called, it's always day one. It's always day one. We want to have that mentality about everything we do. Day one keeps us fresh. Day one keeps us inquisitive. Day one keeps us thinking about how we can make this engine work better, not for us, but for our customer. And that's kind of why I still have passion to come back for this company day in and day out, because we're always thinking about day one for our customer and how we can make it better for them. And I think as we do that, we make our communities better, we make our planet better, and we provide a service that's like real for people. The pandemic has been hard on a lot of people, and not having to interface with people reduces that risk, just to be honest. And people are able to get what they need, not having to risk their lives. Some people that may be impacted by other diseases and other problems that they have, that when compounding with COVID could be fatal. So, we don't take those things lightly. And for that reason, all of last year was like one huge volume record setting year for us. But all in all, I think we work for a company that tries to help the planet and tries to do the right thing by our customer at all times. And I think that's why we continue to be successful.
all right. With that being said, I know that I'll reach out to you, and we're going to share some of these resources when we put this up on YouTube. And
Yep,
thank you,
I'll send
Rick.
you some links.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you, Rick, for
Thank
wait,
you,
Don
guys.
has a question. Don, you have a question, or you just saying bye? Okay.
Oh, it's Klaus doing the clap
Okay,
hands.
claps.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Rick.
thank you all for being here, and thank you, Rick, for making the time with us to hang out with us here in Santa Monica virtually today. And
Yes, sir.
thank you very much. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye.
Guys. See you.
Yeah.